Hi, I'm Alan Davis, Henderson Loggie's VAT Partner. One of the questions I get asked fairly regularly these days is what the difference is between a hard and a soft Brexit, and more specifically, how will that actually affect my business in the UK? Well, for businesses that are trading cross-border with the EU, there are two ways to look at the Brexit challenge. For a hard Brexit, it's more likely to be a situation where goods will stop at the border, at the ports or airports, and be processed by HM Revenue and Customs, and any tax and duties paid at that point. For a softer Brexit, it's more likely to be pretty much as it is just now. So tax and duties is collected off-site, effectively, away from the dock or the airport. And I suppose what you've then got to consider is, well, what should we start to think about now in terms of, do we need to change or think about changing processes so that we're ready for either eventuality? And I suppose you're left in a situation where, because there's no certainty yet, you could go down either path a fair distance before a decision's made. But it's important to be aware of what the implications are, and to start at this time to start thinking about what might the implications be. If there's anything that you can do ahead of time, start thinking about that now. For businesses that are importing into the UK, if the hard Brexit option is followed, then any goods that are being brought in from the EU will be subject to VAT and duty at the dock, and will create a bit of a cash flow issue for importers who have to pay for that VAT upfront immediately the goods arrive into the UK. So it would be sensible to have a look at the cash flow aspects of that. Sometimes there's a need to provide a guarantee when you're importing goods to Revenue and Customs, so it's a case of speaking to the bank to ensure that you've got the facility to provide that guarantee. One of the things I would do if I was in business importing and exporting was just to get a hold of the mix of sales and purchases that you have. So if most of your sales are to the EU or purchases from the EU, you'll know that it's a fairly important part of your business, and say, well, are we going to continue in that way, or will the business actually change? Will we start using other suppliers because Europe is a more difficult challenge? As we all know, the 29th of March 2019 is the date that Brexit effectively takes effect, but there is expected to be an agreement that there will be a period of around 2 years probably for practical changes to happen and for change to actually kick in. However, whilst that could lead to a 3-year time lag, it's also possible that it may be in almost exactly a year to go. So it's important that you're focusing on how the impact of importing and exporting has on your business and what implications there may be for you. As a firm, Henderson Loggie will be monitoring the negotiations on Brexit, and as the VAT and duty implications of that split become more clear, we'll be sharing that information with clients and ensuring that you're as well prepared as you can be for this significant change. So, while there are no immediate changes to the rules and regulations, you may still be transacting cross-border and looking forward to the future. And you may be considering the impact or the potential impact that Brexit will have. As always, you should be taking your own professional advice to ensure that you're compliant and making the best of a transaction. So, while there may be no immediate changes in cross-border trading, you may be worried about transactions that you're making in the short term or the medium term that may be affected by Brexit. You may have questions on how that will affect your business going forward. You should, of course, be taking professional advice on that, as always, particularly if the numbers are big, and we would always recommend that's a good thing to do. If you have any questions or comments about Brexit, please do pop them in the comments box below, or feel free to contact me directly. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.